Buying a house in Charlotte, North Carolina? Well, my clients just closed on a piece of property. And boy, do I have a story for you about sellers and agents gone wild. That's coming up. My name is Eli Magids and I'm a real estate advisor here in Charlotte, North Carolina and the surrounding areas of South Carolina, specializing in luxury homes and new home construction. But always, I am your realtor with heart. I'm not trying to sell you a house or a piece of land. I am here to help you find a home and a lifestyle that you and your family are gonna love. If you're looking for some expert help and you think that you and I are a good fit, I would love to hear from you. My contact information is down below. Feel free to call or text. Now, I put out videos every single week about the best in Charlotte, crazy stories, things going on here, different neighborhoods. Don't want you to miss one of those. Please go down to the red subscribe button, hit that red button, hit the bell, and you'll be notified when my new videos are out every single week. And as always, if you stay tuned to the very end, I'm giving you a free online guide that's gonna tell you all about the Charlotte area, the neighborhoods, the schools. It's yours for free, it's online, but you've gotta stay tuned to the very end. Now, I am working with a fabulous family who are originally from an area that golf and water are very important. And that's what they were looking for when they decided to move to Charlotte. They were looking for golf and they were looking for water. They had spent the last 2 years in Boston. Now, fortunately for this family, they are blessed and lucky enough to be able to buy pretty much anything they wanted in the Charlotte area. And when they came down here and we first started looking around, we found several homes that would really work well for them. But none of them were perfect. Any one of them they would have been very, very happy to live in, but they were looking for something very, very special. Now, as time progressed and they were ready to move from Boston, they found out that they were going to be working in the south part of Charlotte. So the north part of Charlotte and Lake Norman was out of the question. Now, we were not necessarily looking for land to build a new house. Actually, we weren't. We were looking at resale homes. But this family, they were a bunch of explorers. They went out and they checked out every inch of Charlotte and they found a house that had a for sale sign and they called me up. So when I looked up the listing, it was not the house that was being sold per se, but it was the property that was being sold. And the house was coming along with the property and the house was being sold as is, but it was not marketed as a house. Now, I got a hold of the other agent and we gained access into the house, and there was a reason why the house was being sold as is. It was in disrepair and it had a really strange layout. It was a funky layout, low ceilings, rooms where they shouldn't have been. It was kind of one of those houses that if you're going to save the house, because the structure itself was brick, but if you were gonna save the house, you would have to take it down to the studs and completely redo the home. Now, like I said before, my guys were not necessarily into doing this major project or building a home, but the piece of property that this home was on was epic. Now, we went back in there for a second look and I brought along some people that I know who are renovators, and I brought along some of my custom builders to go into the home and give us an opinion of what they think that we can do with it. Both are under the opinion that it would probably cost the same amount to renovate the house as it would to knock it down and rebuild. But my client wasn't sure which way he wanted to go. Now, like I said before, this piece of property is epic. It's located in one of the most prestigious areas of Charlotte. It is on the golf course. It's 1.4 acres, and there is a big water hole located on the golf course, on the piece of the golf course that this home looks over. So check on golf course, check on water. Not exactly the ocean, but they were very happy with it. Now, I have to tell you that this neighborhood is also on one of the most prestigious golf courses in the Charlotte area, almost rivaling Quail Hollow. And there are a lot of very, very well-known people who are building homes or live here as well. Now, in addition to selling this piece of property, we were informed by the listing agent, who initially was very, very cooperative, that there is going to be some sort of construction. We were given plans that were drawn up by the water department and the engineering department as to what was going to be happening in the neighborhood. Right away, I felt I wasn't getting complete cooperation here. She said there was going to be a meeting on a Monday, actually on a Friday, and I asked if I could be at that meeting. She told me she wasn't sure. Then she told me that the meeting was postponed until Monday. Then I asked if I could go to the meeting on Monday that was postponed from Friday, and she said that I was not able to go and she would be the representative and she would let me know what went on. She also told me that she'd be able to get me 2 contact numbers for the people at the water department who I could call and find out information. She also told me she would give me the contact information for the HOA president. And that was before we signed the contract. Okay, that's good. At least I can follow up. My buyer decides to make an offer. Now, this piece of property, this is a 7-figure piece of property. This ain't no cheapo piece of property. We made an offer. The seller made a counter offer, yet we were $15,000 apart. The seller was not going to budge. My buyer was willing to wait it out. Now, I was scheduled to go on vacation, the first vacation that I had in more than 2 years because of this COVID craziness. But I had my cell phone, which I know would work if I turned on the service, had my laptop, so I was ready to go and work. Several days into vacation, I haven't heard from anybody. I was going back and forth with my buyer, and I was trying to think, how can I make this work? Now, I wanted to make this work. No matter what, my buyer was gonna buy a house. But this particular piece of property, in my eye, was something special. It wasn't like any other house or any other area. When I look at homes, I look at it, A, as a home, is it checking off all the needs of the person? And secondly, I look at the area. Is it a great investment? My thought process on this particular piece of property is that good market, bad market, world blows up, this piece of property is always going to have inherent worth. So an analogy that I can give you is about cars, exotic cars. Now, my son is into exotic cars. At 13, he knows more about exotic cars and depreciation values than I have ever thought was possible. However, if you buy a Ferrari, let's say a 488, right? There's going to be a depreciation. That value of the Ferrari is going to go down in price once you drive it off the lot. Now, it's still a Ferrari. It's an unbelievable car. 488 is gorgeous. However, if you bought a Ferrari 590 GTO and spent $200,000, now you have to have the $200,000 to buy the car, but if you bought it 10 years ago, that $200,000 car is now worth $900,000. Or if you bought a Porsche, like you can buy a Porsche 911, which are beautiful cars, they're unbelievable, but they do go down in value. But if you had the money to buy a Porsche 918, which very few people had when it first came out, and you were lucky enough to get on the list, and you bought that car for $700,000 or $800,000 3 or 4 years ago, that car is now worth $1.9 million. That's what I felt about this piece of property. I felt it was a slam dunk. So I'm thinking on vacation, how can I make this happen for my buyer? Because this is a phenomenal opportunity for him. But yet we're $15,000 apart. So I came up with a plan. I called the other agent and kind of discussed the plan with her and asked her if that would work for her. And she said she'd have to get back to me and she'd have to check with the sellers, which she did, but it took her 2 days to get back to me. We finally reached an agreement that we were going to be able to get this home under contract. Very excited. And when I told my buyer the plan, he was all aboard. I went back to my hotel room. I wrote up the contract. I sent the contract to my buyers. They signed it. I sent it over to the listing agent. She got it. I called her. She received it. And then there was complete silence. So the agent got back to me and told me that their people would sign the contract. However, there are some stipulations. They want some stuff from out of the house. Now, we saw the house. The house was being sold as is. As is when we saw it. So their stipulations were they wanted a Viking range. It was like a 2,000-pound Viking range that was downstairs. They wanted a bathroom vanity. They wanted a bathtub. They wanted an air conditioning unit. And they wanted some of the shrubbery. That was their stipulation to signing the contract after I had it all worked out. Now let me go back and tell you that this house was on sale for 60 days. This is an expensive piece of property. It was on sale for 60 days. The owner of the home, the children of the owner of the home, could have gone in and taken everything that they wanted out of this house. They could have taken the sauna, they could have taken the bushes, they could have taken the sinks, they could have taken the stove. They could have taken the lamps, they could have taken the sheetrock. They could have taken anything they wanted, but they took nothing. I went back to my buyer, and my buyer said, absolutely not. We saw the house as is. I want everything that's in the house. We are ready to buy the house, close the house. We have proof of funds, but you're not taking anything out of the house. Now, regardless of whether or not my guy is knocking the house down or renovating it, he gets the contents of the home. Anything that's attached to the home stays with the home, essentially. And that was never in the listing. The listing was only for the land, and the house was as is. So my client said, no way, no how. They want to close it the way we wrote it up. Great. If not, we'll move forward. My client, very smart, never falls in love with a piece of property or a house. We hear nothing back, nothing is happening. So once again, we are at a standstill. Now I'm just about to head back from vacation, and I'm told that the seller is going to sign the contract and they're not going to take anything from the house. So I'm very, very hopeful at this point. I get back to New York. I'm visiting family in New York. I get a signed contract back. We can start our due diligence and start discovering what's going on with this property. Very, very excited. My buyer was very, very excited. He goes over to the house, to the outside of the house, and he sees that there has been heavy equipment there, and he sees that half of the shrubbery has been taken out of the ground. He has told me that it's a mess. There's dirt all over the place. There are bushes that are trampled, and that there are holes where there were once shrubs in the front of the house. In addition, he went to the back of the house, and shrubbery had been removed from the back of the house. And I said to myself, you gotta be kidding me. Now, I can't believe any of this. This is crazy. I mean, this is craziness to take shrubbery. And we have no idea what's going on inside the house. On the way back from New York to Charlotte, have a conference with the agent and my buyer. My buyer was very adamant, and rightly so, that nothing was to be touched. A deal was a deal. The contract is a contract. We want everything that was in the house, everything on the outside of the house had to be in the outside of the house. And this is not the way that we conduct a business deal. This is business. This is not a pleasure cruise. The agent responded that she knew that they went over there, but didn't know that they took anything. Not so sure about that. I got back to Charlotte. I went over to the house, and lo and behold, I saw craters, like moon craters, like big craters, where the shrubbery had been taken in multiple areas. There has to have been 7 or 8 large shrubs taken from the front and from the back. In the contract, in the North Carolina contract, anything that is attached to the house, including shrubbery, if it's buried, it stays with the house. If it's a potted plant, that's personal property, you can take it. But this was buried. This needed heavy equipment to take out, and they took out a lot. I also asked for permission to go into the house to make sure that they hadn't taken anything else. Everything in the house was still there. They had 60 days, and even before they put it on the market, they had plenty of time to take out whatever the heck they wanted if they were selling it as a piece of land only and not selling the house as is. But the house was listed as is. As is as is. There were no exceptions. Now my buyer was willing to overlook this and move forward. So I continued to go ahead and do the due diligence on this property to find out about the water project that was going on. And I contacted the agent and I asked her for the contact information for the people that she had at the water company. And none of that information was forthcoming. Zero, nada. I asked for the telephone number of the head of the HOA. None of that was forthcoming. And none of this was easy to find. It wasn't kind of just like listed where you could just find out who it was. I literally spent an entire day trying to track down who was responsible for this project that was going to happen in the neighborhood and on part of this property that my buyer was going to buy, and find out what was going on. I finally, after an entire day, got a hold of the engineer who drew up the plans, and he told me exactly what was planned and what was going to happen with an easement and putting in a water storm drain and everything that was associated with the plan. But he also told me that the other agent had been with him during a meeting and he explained everything to her. Would have been so nice if she kind of relayed that information to me, at least the contact information, so I didn't have to spend an entire day. But that's my job, that's what we did, but it just wasn't the way we usually cooperate as agents with each other. I had to get a hold of the HOA president, find out what was going on with that, and she had contact information she never gave to me. I got the contact information from one of the builders that I know, who I brought in to show the house to, because he belongs to this particular country club. He told me who the general manager of the country club is, who is responsible for okaying plans. He also got me the name of the HOA president. Eventually, the other agent did get me the email for the HOA president, but this is almost towards the end of our due diligence period. And the reason why I wanted this information is because I needed to find out if we were allowed to put a certain type of home, if we were allowed to put in a pool, if we were able to take down trees, certain neighborhoods, certain golf courses, for instance, like a Longview. They are very, very particular. You can't touch anything. However, this is an older established neighborhood. The HOA president said that this HOA is a voluntary. They really didn't have any restrictions. And the country club has a set of covenants and restrictions that were kind of antiquated. I read through them. Pretty much you could do anything you wanted to do as long as it was in reason. But I did contact the person who's in charge of the country club, and again, he gave me the okay on all of the stuff that we were considering. It would have been so much more helpful if the other agent was cooperative with me. It would have been so much better if the sellers were told that they didn't have the right to steal stuff from the freaking house. It's not allowed. These are sellers gone crazy, and agents gone crazy too. After I went through the entire due diligence period and we found out that this piece of property was going to be a solid piece of property and a great investment for my buyer, I went back to the other agent and I said, you've got to remedy the situation where you took out all the bushes. We came to a financial agreement. We had closing. Actually, we just closed on it. And he is now the proud owner of a beautiful piece of property and still hasn't decided if he's going to build, if he's going to renovate, but that's our next step on this journey. And just as an extra stick, I think it was a little stick, I'm not sure. But typically when you close on a house, you get garage door openers, you get keys, you get all that stuff, right? We were told that nothing was left by the other agent and by the seller of the house, that they had no keys, they had no garage door openers. And I contacted the agent after the fact, after we closed, and she said, oh yeah, there are no keys, and I'll double check on the garage door openers. I'm still waiting for that phone call. So essentially all we have is a garage code and a key code to get in through the garage. So I think that was a little last kind of stick to us. However, my buyer got an unbelievable piece of property. He's going to have an unbelievable home. It's going to be a great home for him for the next 30 years. It's an epic neighborhood. Many, many high-end celebrities are in this neighborhood. It is beautiful, it is gorgeous, it's on the golf course, it's got water, he can put in a pool. So at the end of the day, it all worked out. But just to let you know, there is a little bit of craziness going on out there. Sellers, agents, sometimes you just can't believe what's going on out there. What's going on with sellers, like what's going on through your mind? Agents kind of like, I'm pretty sure you knew it was going down and thought you were going to get away with it. I don't know for sure, but I suspect everybody was in cahoots. Are you looking for a luxury home here in the Charlotte, North Carolina area or the surrounding areas of South Carolina? Looking for a golf course? Are you looking for a gated community? Are you looking just for something really special? Or are you looking to build a new home? Well, if you think that I can get you to the next best part of your life, which I know I can, please feel free to reach out to me, call or text. My contact information is down below. For that free online guide that I told you about early on, go down to the description below. There's a link there, free school and community guide. Click on that link, get that guide, invaluable information, and it's free. Thank you so much for watching, and until we see each other again next time.